Just so everyone remembers and knows, I am recording this session.
All right, welcome to our sprint review. We are going to be covering both two sprints worth of work. So, the last 4 weeks in total. So sprint 12 and 13. So here's our burn down chart from sprint 12. And then skip forward. This is our burn down chart from our current sprint.
Well, that was much better.
Yeah, and I know we have a lot of work that is in the blocked, and it's blocked kind of by like things out of our control. And also I think there's some tickets that are just about there. So I feel like this might go down a little bit more by the end of the day. Yeah, all right. So I'll go over some traffic stats for the last 4 weeks. So for BCMI, still about typical, except for this random day here, which I could not figure out why there was more on this day. And then I looked into it, and I think it was, Nicole, I think it might have been you going through all the pages.
Probably.
Yeah, because I was going through it, and it was all those pages. It was like the legislation page and this page.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was like preparing for a meeting on the 20th. But anyway, so Myra Falls, the map page and the authorization page were the most popular ones for the last 4 weeks, which is pretty on par with kind of what we've seen over the last couple of months for BCMI. For Epic, yeah, pretty standard page views. I was just looking at how people are getting to the site, and about 50% are going directly there, and 20% are actually going through a Google search to get there. For LNG, yeah, again, pretty typical, a little bit higher than normal on some of the days for page views. And again, the Coastal Gas Link authorization page is one of the most popular ones here, which it kind of has been over the last little while, so that's pretty standard. For NRCED, the EAO inspections for some reason were popular over the last 4 weeks. And also, I know Kyle, last sprint review, we were talking about how the more info page was a popular hit one. Turns out the more info page is actually just the bottom half of the landing page. Yeah. So
it's the anchored section, right? Okay.
Yeah. So that actually kind of explains why maybe it's the most hitable.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So our last two sprint are goals. So we're fixing some data issues that were affecting BCMI. We got most of those completed. I see Aaron, you joined. Welcome.
Thank you.
We ended up uncovering a bunch of other bugs in core, unfortunately. But I know those are still being worked on as well.
We did the bug fix to fix it, and 3 more bugs showed up.
Yeah. So then also we
Sounds
moved.
like a game of Pandemic.
Yeah. We also moved the NRPTI and BCMI we moved it to our staging prod environment right now, where Harpreet and Amy, you guys are working to prepare that data. So we got that completed. We are continuing, this one I think is going to be in progress for a while. We're investigating different methods for collecting data to go to NRCED. I know we finished a couple of spikes over the last 4 weeks, but I know we have more spikes moving forward on that. We had some updates to the BCMI public site. We finished that. We also had a goal of importing the FLINRO NRO inspections from NRES via CSV. This one's almost done. I think Neil, you're still working on it, but I did test it yesterday. I think there's just a couple of things to iron out for that one. And then we wanted to deploy Epic test and prod to Openshift 4. I know we hit a blocker for going to prod, is that we couldn't get enough storage space, I think was the issue. And that one is with the platform team. So that one's kind of a dependency that we have on them to do their work before we can get that one done. And then I think we're still working on getting Epic test into Openshift 4. But our dev environment is in there now. All right, so the demo. So we're gonna try splitting up the demo a little bit today. I'm gonna demo a few things at the beginning, and then we're gonna kind of share it amongst the team. So I'll just do my part of the demo first. The first thing I wanted to show off is the BCMI public updates that we made. So I'm just gonna pull up BCMI. So this is our, this is test BCMI right now, on our version of it. So this is kind of what will go live hopefully next week. So one of the things we did here is we updated all the links that we could find that I think, Nicole, you found that were broken on the site. So there was a bunch of like hyperlinks within some of the pages that were broken. So we updated those. This little stat, or the fast facts here, this was just updated as well. So people coming to the site will get a more up-to-date picture really quickly here. What was the other thing we had? Oh yeah, so we were noticing that if you go to any of the mines, sometimes it would take quite a while for the mine documents and stuff to load in each of the tabs. So now we have a load, like a little spinner that'll help it load. So from here, if I click here, it'll have this little spinner saying stuff is going on, and now these things are showing up much quicker. So instead of coming to this page and waiting and looking like nothing's going to show up, it now happens beforehand, and then it pops up here. So that's there. The last thing on the public side that we updated was, so Fording River, I'll just check and see if it's up to date here. There are some issues with the way we're pulling over data from core. For a couple mines, we're pulling over the wrong permit number. So we were noticing a few data issues that we couldn't quite resolve yet because of the way our importer was working. So instead, we kind of came up with like a bit of an interim approach until we could fix that, so that we're not showing the wrong information to the public. And so what I mean by that is on this authorizations tab here, oh, this is a bad example. If I go to this Alwyn mine, and so these Mines Act permits, these are ones coming straight from core. And what we've done is we've amended like the permit number right into the front here, so M50, and that permit number is coming straight from core. However, for one like Fording River, it has two different major mine permits. And so we want to show the C3 permit, but we're actually pulling over C102. And that's just an issue because I think eventually we want to show both. Sorry, Aaron, go ahead.
They merged two mines to make Fording River, so that mine has got two permits, but only the one is active or something like that, right?
Yeah.
It's a weird case.
Yeah, so I think that's the reason why we might be pulling over the wrong one. And I think in the future, we'll have to come up with a better way to handle that. But for the interim, what we've done is, if I go into here, I'm going to use Alwyn Mine just as an example. One second. So I'm going to go into NRPTI, the test site. And if I go to all mines, I'm going to go to Alwyn. We've added just a new field here that has a little flag. It has show EMPR permit number. So now it's kind of, it's not super obvious, which I think is actually important because only like an administrative user who really knows how to do this will do it. And it'll be defaulted for all the mines to show this number, except for these weird cases like Fording River. So if we go actions, edit, I can uncheck this, update it. Then if I go back to BCMI and go to Alwyn, you'll see that the permit number is now gone. So this is just a way for us to like be able to kind of get around the data issue and not show the public, like for Fording River, it would say C103 instead of C3 on the wrong documents. So we just wanted to make sure that we weren't doing that. So it's a sort of an interim approach to this until we figure out how we want to show more than one permit on a mine. Yeah, so that is all the public BCMI updates. Is there any questions about that? Okay, the other thing I was going to show quickly is, as part of our NRCED work, one of the things we are working on is trying to get data from the BC Oil and Gas Commission into our system so we can display it on NRCED. And we have automated 3 of the imports. So we're now getting over the BC Oil and Gas Commission inspections, orders, and administrative penalties. So if I go to the import page on NRPTI, I'm not going to do it because it takes a little while, and I did it yesterday. But now a user can click Start Job, and in the future it's going to be a nightly job or on some sort of schedule. But right now you can click Start Job, and then it'll run the importer here. So you can see yesterday it pulled in this many documents, and it worked successfully as it completed. You can see if I go to All Records. So this will show all the records for anything that's in NRPTI, so for BCMI, LNG, and NRCED. If I go into here and I go Source System, BCOGC, We already had inspections in here, so I'm going to try and do orders. So here's the orders. If I scroll down, you'll see that all of these are orders coming from the BC OGC importer now. So if I click on one, see source system BC OGC. Here's all the information that's mapped from the website that we're pulling it from. And the record name here, I'm just going to copy this. And then if we go to NRCED, again, I'm in test right now, but just go to NRCED and we'll go to the fresh site. And if I search for this record here, here's that same record, and you'll see it's been it's auto published to NRCED. So when that BCOGC importer runs, it gets automatically published out to NRCED. And if it's an LNG Canada record or a Coastal GasLink record, it'll get auto published to the LNG site as well. So here's that same record.
And this is fantastic because previously I had to open up the OGC compliance enforcement webpage, look at one record at a time on there, manually transcribe it into NRCED, into NRPTI in order to publish it. And now it's just click of a button. It's great.
Yep. Yeah, so that is what I was going to demo today.
Just before I forget, this would be a good success criteria for you to write down, like map out how much time it took you, Kyle, to do that previously and how much time it takes now.
Yeah.
See, you always lose those along the way.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing we are going to demo is, I think, Neil, you're going to demo the core importer, and I think it was Openshift and the Flynn row inspections. So I will pass it off to you.
Yeah, okay, just let me get my cat out of the way. Yeah, I could start talking about the core importer. Just let me share my screen.
Yep. Yeah, because I think I forgot to mention it before, but we did make some updates to the core to help fix some of the issues that we were experiencing with the data.
Right. Sarah, see my screen?
Yep.
Right. So for the core importer, I'm just going to talk about it because it's really hard to show what the changes are. So when we started doing core importer, I believe you have said the core API data would never change. So we never put in the logic to update the records when core API has changed their data. So in this screen, what we did is when we bring in the data from core API, we also check to see if the description and the dates have changed. If it does, then we update the records that are in our database. And this will allow us to match our database data to what's in core API. Aside from that, there's nothing really changed on the core API importer. And the next thing I worked on is the NRO inspections importer from CSV. I'm just going to do a quick demo of how this works. So on our importer page, we now have a new option to import from NRS Flynn row, and the record type is inspection. And I just go find my CSV file and drag it in here. And when I do that, the front end will actually do all the header checks to make sure the CSV file has all the required headers and fields we need to do the import. If there are any errors with the CSV file, you'll see a big red arrow on here. I could actually probably demonstrate this really fast just by changing one of the column names. Okay, now just drag it in again. So I basically just made a random change in the file, and now you see there are all these things are missing in the file because just I changed the random header, and now it's saying I'm missing the required header record ID, and that's how we identify individual records in our database. So I need to change this back so I can actually do the demo. So now if I click on start job, you'll do the imports from the CSV. And this is very quick. So if I do refresh instantly, you should see I have some records imported from that CSV file. So right here, it says 78 records imported for NRO CSV. And if I go back to the records page, I do a refresh. And now I should see all these records that just came in from the CSV file. And I can also filter down to just those using NRO instruction CSV. And you'll show there are 78 records because that's all the records from this CSV import type so far. And you want to, and then all these records will be published on NRCED as well. I'm just going to show an example, say this one. And one thing we did is because at the moment, we haven't figured out how we want to publish client names. So for any client that's not LNG or Coastal GasLink, we showed their names as unpublished.
And to that, it's not so much that we haven't figured it out, it's that we just aren't legally, or at least Flynn Rowe doesn't think we're legally able to do to publish names at this time. There's debated, but business area doesn't want names published.
Have they talked to the privacy group?
It's so complicated, Aaron. It has been going on for a long time, long before.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the NRO instruction importer. Are there any questions regarding this topic?
That error checking is really cool. I didn't actually know that that was there. That's awesome.
No questions, just props, props, props. Like this is huge. We've wanted to get these inspections, like as a program, we wanted to get inspections into from Flynn Rowe into NRCED for years, like a long time. And this, I can't express how massive a milestone this is going to be.
Okay, and if there are no other questions, I'll move on to demoing Openshift 4. I'm not sure how many of you have seen the Openshift 3 interface before, but this is a newer interface we have in Openshift 4. This is basically a view of our test namespace where we host our test Epic application. And here is just sort of a view of all the individual services that we have running. So we have the Eagle admin, Eagle public, Eagle API, the menu document storage we run. ClamAV is used for scanning for viruses for the files that are being uploaded. And then here's our MongoDB that we use to store our records. These arrows basically just show a relationship how each of these services interact with each other. They don't really do anything, these arrows themselves. It's just purely for visualization. And for those have used Epic before, we can go to the admin side and y'all look pretty similar to what you have seen before. All the data in here matches what we have on our current Epic in test on Openshift 3. And same as well for the public side of Epic. Yeah, so this is just Openshift 4. Not sure if there's anything else you guys want to see about Openshift 4 for the non-techie guys, people.
I've been in the Openshift 3 just a little bit, and I like this. This looks much nicer. I like it better.
Well, we actually prefer the older view, this
really?
view where we kind of group everything together into kind of logical groups. So if I go to our dev environment, we have the different deployments kind of grouped together. Whereas if you go to that sort of this view, then they can just all there, and it's hard for us to see what's what. So
yeah.
I think we actually prefer this older view here.
Oh, funny.
Yeah,
Getting used to this new user interface is slowly driving me batty.
Yeah, it's mostly the same, but just few things are kind of not what you expect it to be, and just had to get used to it.
Right. Awesome. Thank you, Neil.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I think, Morgan, you're going to do the Epic config service.
Yes. How can I demo that? To test, I guess I can try sharing here. There we go. All right, so we used to keep all our environment variables for the front ends over here. Like you can still see we have one of them that we haven't removed yet, the Eagle Admin Console. This is a little clunky because it required some kind of weird config in the build in order to like write a file that could then have the environment variable set in it. And the result was usually with keycloak issues, if your token got messed up or we changed something to do with keycloak, it would require basically every one of our users to have to clear their cache or they'd get in a bad state with their login. So we ported over a config service for our API. So now our front ends just have to hit /config on the API as like a public endpoint, and they get their config, all the config options that the front end needs. So now we can build in all the keycloak realm stuff. We don't have to hard code it in our front ends like we had before. It's a little more configurable this way. We could change our API paths on the fly for like our document linking and stuff. And all the fun SSO variables, which I think we have another small update to do to clean up because we can infer a few of those now. And so yeah, I'll just show. Go to the admin site. So public doesn't really need to hit the config service at this time. And you can see here, the first thing that happens is we initialize the app and we force keycloak to grab its config from the config service. So the config service is actually the first thing we hit to populate everything, and then keycloak activates in order to hit all these protected pages. And yeah, that's about it. We set our banner color, what environment we're in, everything. So all we need to do to update any environment variables is update our API and redeploy it. No more triggering rebuilds or weird caching issues.
Yeah, I feel like this has helped us a lot with stuff that we've worked on since it's been put in place. Thank you, Morgan.
No problem. Now.
All right. Can you guys see my screen? Seemed like it didn't work, but okay. Yeah. So some other work that we got, oh, I'll just put it in this. Some other work that we completed over this last 4 weeks was we developed a roles matrix for NRPTI. So this is important. We did a lot of discussion around this, and in some of our future development, we're going to be having quite a few different types of roles in NRPTI so that different business areas can come in and post information to the NRCED website. So I think this was a really good start on figuring out how we're going to lay that out and move forward with it. So that was really important that we completed over the last 4 weeks. I think we also helped Amy, you and Harpreet, a little bit with the data entry. I know, Nicole, you did a bunch of the EAO ones, which was awesome, and hopefully helped you guys out with that. We also made some updates to the EPIC and NRCED metabase. I think both of them are having different issues, and they've both since been updated and are working again. And finally, we had a really great content session last Friday for BCMI. So we went over kind of like the public facing part of BCMI and went over what needs to be updated and what we can do to make some of those changes. And I know, Nicole, you're working on that right now, coming up with some ideas. So that was a great session. So our success criteria. I'm still leaving the BCMI one here until we go live completely. So this one's still here. We have the data prep for BCMI. It's ongoing, so I've kind of moved this one forward a little bit because I think we're almost there. We're aiming to have this release everything on the 30th is our goal, so next Monday after this interregnum period is over. And so I think we're well on our way to get there and have it all prepared. And then all these great things can just move way over to the right. And then for NRCED, I started some new success criteria here. These are the same ones that I showed, I think, whenever it was, like 2 sprints ago. Basically wanting to have an increase in total number of records published to NRCED and that are actually in NRPTI, increase in annual number of records and different business areas in there. These are kind of all the baseline of where we're starting now in November 2020. And some of these have the baseline from the old NRCED, this one here. But what I kind of really wanted to show was Kyle helped me create this chart, or I used some of your information, Kyle, to create this chart. This is our vision at the top here for NRCED is to be able to tell the full story of BC's compliance and enforcement efforts on the land base in BC. And so one of our major goals here is to tell that full story. So getting all these different business areas onboarded. And so I've tried to kind of put this in a way so we can kind of track our progress over time. So these are all the different business areas that we're trying to onboard. These are all the different record types. Here's all the different source systems. And then over here is the estimated annual number of records. So when we started, I think we had this top half was done here. The inspections one is new as of a couple weeks ago. And then over this last sprint, we added all these yellow ones here. So the Climate Action Secretariat, there aren't actually any records from them, but they can do them now. There was a ticket completed, so they can show up on NRCED if they're marked correctly in, I think it's in NRES, as part of our current NRES EPD importer.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. And then Neil demoed the LINRA ones coming from NRES, the inspections, which is going to be about 7,000 new documents every year. So this is a huge, like if we can get this one in there, this is a huge win. And then we're almost done the BC OGC business area. So we've got these 2 done. In our next sprint, we're going to be doing the warnings. So I'm hoping to use this to track our progress over time, and eventually all of this will be green. I know it looks a little bit daunting, like there's a lot of stuff in here, but some of these will be grouped together. Like as you can see here, there's all these 3 manual rows. This would actually be covered just by 1 role. So I know it might look kind of scary, but it's a lot of them I think could be kind of meshed together into 1 or 2 actual tasks.
This is a great visual.
Awesome.
It was just too all over the place and I could never like keep focused on it. So this is great.
Yeah. I'm happy to share this around with everybody. I'm kind of keeping track of it in a PowerPoint, and I'm going to try and do each sprint. But I'm happy to share this with anybody if you guys want to see kind of what's coming and stuff. And I think we're going to use this to sort of plan out our next 6 or 7 sprints as well. All right, and then finally, realizing that we're a little bit over time. So for our Team for Falcon, we're going to be doing, because of the Christmas holidays, we're going to be doing 2 3-week sprints like we did last year. So today we're starting our first 3-week sprint that's going to go till December 16th. And then our following sprint is going to be the 16th till the, I want to say, till the 6th of January. So for our next sprint, what we're going to be focusing on is doing that full prod release for BCMI, and as well as getting everything out of our staging prod into the live prod database again. So the ETA on that are estimated, or what we're aiming for is for November 30th for that. We also want to move Epic Prod to Openshift 4. We're blocked on that currently because of I think we have to wait for the platform team to be able to give us more space. So we're kind of blocked on that, but hoping to do that soon. We're also going to work on automating our certificate renewal for a bunch of our applications. I know our Epic ones expire next month, so trying to get those ones done first. And then some of the NRCED work that we're going to be doing is we're going to implement a wildfire role so that the BC Wildfire Service can get assigned this wildfire role in NRPTI and come into there and upload wildfire compliance and enforcement records that will then show on NRCED. We're also going to complete the BC OGC automated imports, so get the warnings in there and also put it on a schedule so that import runs nightly or on some sort of schedule so that it's actually fully automated. And finally, we're doing some more investigation specifically around how to get data from cores and from ERA. So yeah, this is going to be our next our next 3-week sprint, and the one after this, I think over the Christmas holidays, we're going to kind of focus on like a tech debt sprint. So it's going to be a lot of technical pieces, and I think the team, you guys are going to kind of dictate what you want to put in there. So that's the plan for the next little while. Any questions or anything from anyone? Okay, awesome. Thanks for coming, guys, everyone.
Good review, Jess.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. I'm stopping the recording now.